welcome back.
Welcome back to the program, where this episode I am taking a look at an American classic, Hamm's beer, from the land of sky blue water. The beer refreshing. Says it right down the can. That's been part of their slogan for decades. Hamm's has been around forever. The logo here hasn't really changed much at all. The red, the red lettering. I believe maybe the font might have changed up over time, but for the most part, the Hamm's logo itself, the writing, it stayed pretty much the same or very true to the original, version of it. This here is just a simple blue can. Looks like crowns on there with some I don't know, arrow tips maybe is what that's supposed to be. And Hamm's, the old commercials, and I share a lot of commercials here on the channel, so go back and check them out if you want to see some Hamm's commercials. Hamm's had the bear in the commercial. I got actually a sign over here, an old Hamm's sign on the wall over here. But Hamm's used that bear for decades, for a long time. I believe from maybe the 50s on up. I believe some of the commercials I've shared on the channel were still from like the 1980s, so they were still going pretty strong with commercials into the 80s. Today, Hamm's not really one of the big market, the upper level American macro lagers that you see out there. Still on the shelves everywhere. You've probably seen it. If you haven't had it, most of you probably had it. If you haven't had it, you've probably seen it on the shelf. Very cheap, and every once in a while I pick it up. When I want a throwback beer, throwback lager, Hamm's, PBR. Sometimes I'll grab some Miller Lite, Coors Light if I'm in the mood for like a light macro lager. But Hamm's is fun. I think I paid $5.99, $5, something like that for a 6-pack. So it's fun to go back and just have this, chill out, drink a couple beers with a buddy, and just kind of just enjoy, get away from the modern world, the IPAs that I do all the time that I love, the sours that I do all the time that I love. It's a little bit of a throwback for me. So I'm going to crack her open and get a pour on it. And I believe Hamm's is now owned by, even though it does, actually I'll read this on the side, it does say, let's see here, Hamm's Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's got a 1-800 number for consumer questions. But I believe they are owned now by Miller Coors. Miller owns these guys now, owns this brand now, this label. And it does have some ingredients listed on here, which is kind of unusual in a lot of beers. They don't really list stuff like this. But this says water, barley, malt, corn syrup, yeast, hops. It says corn syrup is used as part of the brewing process only. Hamm's never uses high fructose corn syrup. So it's probably going to be a sweetness to it, which I know it is, got a sweetness to it, but probably not as sweet as maybe like, I don't know, some of the Coors Banquet or Miller High Life or something like that. Probably a little bit sweeter than these types than this beer is going to be. But we'll get a pour on it here. This is a 16-ounce can. So I think it was a 6-pack of 16 ounces for like, I know it wasn't more than $6. I think it's probably like $4.99 or 5 something. So, just about a finger of just a white head. There's some compact bubbles popping in there. There's some fisheye bubbles, some dish soapy bubbles popping in there. Very clear. It's got that golden look to it there, but very, very clear there. You kind of see that there. Nice clarity to it. Looks like a typical light beer. You definitely get that syrupy cornness, like corn syrup, corn vibe. Slight grassiness to it. Yeah, just maybe a little bit of a mild sweetness, but it smells pretty much like a typical macro lager is going to smell. Yeah, so let's get a drink on this thing. Clean, crisp, refreshing. You can get that corn syrup in there. That syrupy sweetness kind of comes through, although it's not overly sweet or anything like that. This is a little bit more of a malt forward beer to me. That's how it's coming across tonight. Than maybe like a Miller Lite, Coors Light, Bud Light. This is kind of malt 40, just a little bit. It is not a malty beer, but just a little bit of that maltiness right up front. It actually does have kind of a hoppiness, kind of a hoppy bitterness, probably a little bit more again than your Bud Lights of the world, your Coors, stuff like that. And it's not a hoppy beer, and it's not a bitter beer, but it just got a little bit of that there on it. And at 4%, under 5, you could kill a couple of these very easily. Kill a few of them, a 6-pack in a night, really, probably. Overall, if you haven't had this before, I do recommend you trying it. If you're into this type of stuff, um, even if you're a snob out there, you've probably had this before, and at some point, I don't know, you might have liked it. I don't know. But I think it's definitely a good throwback beer if you just want to kind of get a cheap beer, kind of chill out, relax, drink something. Um, I would say, yeah, I would recommend this. I don't really score beers too much here on the channel anymore, but if I was scoring this right here, for what it is, and I'm gonna put it up against like Coors, Miller, Budweiser. Even if I threw Yingling in there, which is probably one of my favorite lagers currently, actually for the last several years, um, I would I would actually give this like a 3.5, like a 3.5 out of 5 easily for what this type of beer is, for what it is here. They're not going for anything that's going to blow you away. So, anyhow, like, subscribe, comment, check me out on social media. Thanks for watching.